There's a black fungus growing on birch trees right now that brews into a dark tea people compare to coffee, and it contains zero caffeine. Russian families have been drinking it for centuries in Siberia and northern Russia. It doesn't spike your nervous system or leave you groggy at 3 in the afternoon. The reason you never heard of it has nothing to do with chemistry. It has to do with a ledger. The broken cycle. Most people know the rhythm by heart. You drink the cup, the fog lifts for 2 or 3 hours, and then the wall hits somewhere between lunch and dinner. Your focus shatters, your patience thins, and you reach for a second cup or a sugary snack to patch the gap. That's not a personal failing, that's the design of the molecule. Caffeine doesn't give you energy, it blocks the adenosine receptors in your brain so your body can't feel tired. The tiredness is still building up behind the dam, and when the caffeine wears off, the flood comes all at once. That rebound is what you feel as the crash. The global coffee industry brings in over $250 billion a year selling this exact cycle. It's a product that builds tolerance over time, so you slowly need more to feel the same effect. It also creates a daily repeat purchase that never ends. The average loyal coffee drinker is worth thousands of dollars across a lifetime, and every major city block has at least one shop built to collect it. So the question is not whether coffee works. It works beautifully for about 4 hours. But here's what most people never realize. The crash isn't a side effect. It's the business model built into the molecule itself. There was always another cup on the table, but it didn't come from a plantation. The forest cup. The fungus is called Inonotus obliquus, though Russian villagers simply call it chaga. The word itself comes from the Russian name for the mushroom, which was borrowed from the indigenous Komi language where chak means mushroom. It's a black woody conch that grows on living birch trees in cold northern forests, and it can live on the same tree for 20 years, slowly drawing compounds out of the birch bark that give it its dark color and dense chemistry. For centuries, families in Siberia and rural Russia have been simmering chunks of this conch into a dark, earthy tea. It's not a wellness trend or a laboratory discovery. It was a household drink in places where coffee had to travel thousands of miles and cost money that most people didn't have. The flavor is mild and slightly bitter, naturally low in acidity, and genuinely compared to weak coffee or strong black tea by people who drank it daily, because it was simply what was available in the forest outside their door. I want to be honest here. It's not espresso. It won't fool a trained barista in a blind taste test, but it's a warm, dark, complex brew that satisfies the same hand-warming ritual, and it carries none of the acidity that tears up some people's stomachs. The honest comparison isn't identical twin, it's functional replacement. And for some drinkers who tried it during wartime shortages, it was enough that they never went back. So if the drink is real, the history is centuries deep, and the flavor lands in the same neighborhood, the puzzle is why the knowledge stopped at the Russian border while chicory and barley crossed the ocean. To understand that, you have to look at what is inside the cup and why your body processes it so differently from caffeine. The chemistry of steady energy. The difference is simple. Caffeine is a stimulant that hijacks your nervous system. It blocks the tiredness signal and pretends the tank is full when it's not. Chaga doesn't block anything. It's classified as an adaptogen, which means it helps your body manage stress and maintain steady function without forcing a fake peak. The active compounds are polysaccharides, especially beta-glucans, which modulate how your immune system and stress response communicate. There are also triterpenoids like inositol that support cellular resilience, plus melanin and superoxide dismutase, which is one of the most powerful antioxidant enzymes your body uses to clean up oxidative damage. The mushroom is packed with compounds that protect cells from the wear that makes you feel drained. Here's what that means in real life. Instead of blocking tiredness with a dam that eventually breaks, the adaptogenic approach reduces the underlying depletion. Your body is less worn out in the first place, so there's no accumulated adenosine waiting to flood back in. There's no cortisol spike, no dehydration loop that sends you running for water an hour later. The alertness is gentler, and it doesn't come with a bill due at 3 in the afternoon. I want to be straight with you about the science. The research on chaga's direct alertness effect is promising, but not as massive as the research on caffeine. What's well documented is the adaptogen mechanism, the immune modulation, and the extraordinary antioxidant load. Chaga carries one of the highest antioxidant concentrations ever measured in a natural food, though the exact marketing numbers you see online should be treated cautiously because some of them are hard to trace back to independent research studies. What traditional users describe isn't a jolt, it's a steady baseline of alertness that doesn't peak and valley. If you need an immediate slap in the face for a deadline, this isn't that. If you want to stop borrowing energy from your own afternoon, this is exactly what the mushroom gives you, and it does it without a single milligram of caffeine. Follow the money. Now we get to the ledger. Coffee is a $250 billion global commodity built on a daily repeat purchase that never ends. The dose that worked last month barely touches you this month because tolerance keeps building. It requires specialized machines, branded cups, barista training, and an entire supply chain from equatorial plantation to city block corner shop. Every step of that chain bills somebody. Chaga grows on birch trees. It requires no proprietary machine, no subscription app, no patented extraction process, and no barista certification. You simmer it in a pot. Any pot works. The raw conch can't be owned by a corporation the way a coffee bean variety can, and there's no monthly recurring revenue in a fungus that regrows on public land. The business model simply isn't there, and that's exactly why the market never told you about it. This isn't a conspiracy theory. There's no smoke-filled room where coffee executives voted to suppress a mushroom. The suppression is structural and economic. A free forest product can't compete with a commodity that employs millions, funds massive advertising campaigns, and bills you every single morning. The market doesn't need to conspire to ignore something it can't meter. We've seen this pattern before. On November 29, 1942, the United States implemented coffee rationing and limited every household to roughly 1 cup per person per day. Americans immediately turned to substitutes they could roast and brew themselves. Chicory root, barley, acorns, dandelion root, and even peas were chopped up and brewed into dark, warm drinks that filled the morning ritual. After the war ended, the marketing machinery and restored supply chains buried those alternatives almost completely. Chicory survived only in New Orleans because the culture there was strong enough to anchor it. Chaga never had that cultural anchor in the West. It had no wartime rationing to force adoption and no corporation to fund its billboards. It was simply left in the forest, which means pulling it out takes almost no effort. The method? Trying this costs almost nothing. You need dried chaga chunks or coarse powder, which you can find from herbal suppliers or harvest yourself if you live near birch forests in northern climates. A single bag costs a fraction of what most people spend on coffee in a week. Here's how you actually do it. Don't boil it. Simmer the chunks in water for 20 to 30 minutes. Boiling damages some of the heat-sensitive polysaccharides, and you want those intact. The result is a dark, coffee-colored liquid that smells like the forest after rain. A thumb-sized chunk in 2 cups of water makes a strong daily brew, and you can reuse the same chunk 2 or 3 times before it gives out. The taste is earthy and mildly bitter with almost no acidity. Some people add honey or oat milk, but most drink it plain once they adjust to the flavor. It's not sweet, and it's not supposed to be. Again, I want to be honest, this isn't caffeine. When a hard deadline demands a jolt, chaga isn't the tool for that job. It keeps you alert without the debt you pay later. Think of it as maintenance, not a loan. One honest limitation: chaga can thin blood slightly because of its compounds. If you're on anticoagulant medication, talk to your doctor before you make this a daily habit. The mushroom is safe for most people, but that safety note is real and it matters. Outro. The 3 p.m. crash was never a personal failing. It was the rebound from a molecule designed to spike and then fade. The forest has always offered a different contract: steady energy, no debt, no machine, no bill. The knowledge was never lost. It was simply never sold to you. If this channel's pattern makes sense, there are other household systems waiting to be rebuilt without a monthly subscription. Stay and we'll keep tracing them.